Welcome to the latest episode of our 15-minute quick catch-ups that we have with local business owners. It's brought to you in association with Business Central and who provide their members with professional business support services. Today, really fortunate to catch up with Katie Nimon, the General Manager of Nimons, one of our longest established transport businesses here. I recall being a kid in Hastings many years ago, coming out of the State movie theatre in town and then jumping on the Nimons bus either to somewhere in Hastings or out to Havelock. And so remember those days fondly, and it's fantastic to see you guys still here after all of these years. And I know it's been a tough time for you, but I guarantee you'll be back stronger than ever on the other side of all of this chaos and craziness that's carrying on. So welcome, Katie. Great to have you on board.
Thanks, David. And yes, you're probably maybe on the Bone Shaker. A lot of people called one of those buses back then. This is probably
always in the back seat too.
This is probably at least our third financial crisis, actually, if you look at the history. So it'll be an interesting one to see how we come out of it.
Yeah, it sure will be. Hey, first things first, what did you crave most during lockdown?
Do you know what? I'm a big pizza lover. 100% pizza, probably Alessandro's pizza. Already had that since the kind of rules have been lifted a little bit.
Yep. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I'm actually
and a coffee?
No, I'm not a coffee
drinker. Okay, so that's been a common one.
Yeah, teas for me, and so it tastes the same as at home as it does anywhere else.
Very good. And what about technology? You know, having to move back home and set up and operate, and what sort of technology have you relied on?
Yeah, we've actually Teams has been at Microsoft Teams for us. Honestly, I mean, I think the trickiest thing is phone contact, but I'll get to it a little bit later probably, that we really haven't had an operation going on over lockdown. So cell phones, but Microsoft Teams has been great, and the whole operation have been really just chatting through Teams, and it's been going really well. So yeah, I'd probably put that at the top of my list.
Okay, and you over Zoom meetings and things like that? Have you had many?
Yeah, I've had a lot of Zoom meetings. I think they're pretty good. Yeah, I mean, hey, I probably prefer to have them in person, but needs must.
Yeah. Now, your business is reliant on people sitting on their butts and buses and stuff and being taken to events and to school and those types of things on a daily basis. So obviously a massive impact. Can you just give me a bit of a download on sort of the services side of that, but also there's that people element, and you were caught up in the COVID case here locally. Yeah. You've got an older workforce as well, so there was that risk there. So just give me a run through of that sort of those scenarios.
Oh yeah, Damon, it's a nightmare. So basically, from the service side of things, our business is completely people group transport. So really, we're one of the worst hit when you think about it. So a good portion of our work is school buses. So obviously school's been closed down during lockdown, and another big portion of our business is tourism work, which is non-existent, and another big portion of our work is event transport. So either getting people to events or doing bus services for events. So either way, we haven't been essential. We've been all closed up. So there's a plus and a minus. One is that it's really been a good way of being able to protect our staff because they can't work. So, with the wage subsidy, we're able to support them being at home and hope that we've got some busy work for them when they get back. But yeah, I don't know if you knew, but obviously when we had the alert level 2 announcement, the Ministry of Education said that they won't have any over 70s working for any of their contracts.
Right.
So as it turns out, nearly all of our drivers for Ministry of Education are over 70 because it's a great job for a semi-retired person. So that was a really hard weekend for me and my team, just calling around and redesigning routes and redistributing bus runs and things like that.
Did you get behind the wheel yourself?
No, fortunately, I didn't have to. I was going to, but we had one day of having reduced services, and then the ministry basically said, look, if you have to suspend runs, you have to suspend runs. That's okay. And then within a day, we all went into lockdown anyway. So it's a busy weekend of phone calling, but no big issue. But yeah, I mean, the other issue, I guess, was the Ruby Princess debacle. I mean, a really tough one for us because, that we knew that was going to be our last ship. Obviously they announced that cruise ships were not going to be berthing if they were coming into New Zealand waters, but if they were in New Zealand waters, they could. I personally found that very controversial myself. My thinking is don't give people a window of time to get around the rules, and just because the ship's in New Zealand waters doesn't mean the people are okay. So, hindsight told us exactly what I imagined. It was that it was probably not the best move, but it's a really hard position to be in because that was our last bit of revenue that we've had. And, to say, to boycott them, I guess, and not have any buses or drivers turn up because we think it's a risk is a really hard thing to do as a business. Our drivers, that's their livelihoods. And at the time, absolutely nobody thought there was a risk involved. And even the ship themselves said there's absolutely no risk involved with our ship. Everyone's healthy. And so, we're led to believe that it's all good to go. So the drivers all turn up on the day and have a great time. And we are I've got to say, it's some kind of miracle that none of our staff got COVID.
Yeah.
An absolute miracle because, these guys are mostly over 70, guys and girls, and they do such an amazing job. And they're, face to face with these people. And thank goodness, obviously not for prolonged periods of time and, not too close and, managed to get away okay. But obviously not the same for everybody involved, which has been a real shame, obviously, for our community. But just such a tough one because, in hindsight, business is business. And, my whole team all said, look, we wanted that ship just as much as anybody else did on the day. So that was really, really tricky. And to only find out a week later as well that there was a risk involved with that ship was really tough for business. So, a lot of phone calls from worried parents thinking that their bus, their school bus might have been affected. And I think we can look back on it really confidently, and we know we responded really quickly. We had, as soon as COVID was a risk, we were sanitizing our buses before and after every trip. Our drivers were practicing social distancing, they were washing their hands and, practicing all the safe hygiene. So it obviously worked. And, we've done the right thing and got through it as best we can.
Yeah. So you've now been home 6-7 weeks nearly, and and you've got a large team, and it's been a stressful time. So how have you managed that and keep them motivated and feel as if they're part of it, but still there's the unknown?
Yeah, it's been tough, and we've got a big sort of diverse range of staff. We've got our bus drivers, we've got our mechanics, and we've got our office staff. And, they're all quite different. So communication's been everything, sending out emails to people, just giving them updates, text messages, some of them call just for a little update. So communication has been key. And everyone's been so supportive, and they all understand that a situation like this, I mean, no one has the answers. So we've just got to wait and, interpret the information as it comes. Yeah. So for all our drivers, they've just been sort of at home looking after themselves and their families and keeping busy and wait for work to start up again. The office staff, we've been fortunate enough to actually have a bit of an IT project. So they've all been really busy on that. And so we're all just chatting every day via Teams and helping each other and doing little, group chats and group videos. So that's been really good. And I think probably the key thing, lots of memes, lots of memes and GIFs. And actually one of our team has just been so creative. I have no idea where he gets it from, but he's been sending daily updates as if he's in Greece on a yacht. So every morning and afternoon he signs on and off with his little travel diary from Greece, and it's just, I think it makes everyone smile. So it's been good.
And who have you turned to for support? Has it been back to the family or others that have helped you along this this journey?
A little bit of everything, actually. I've got a neat bubble. My partner and I live with a couple of others, and we've got a really cool little bubble. So we kind of work together and have smoko together, and cups of tea. So that's been really nice, just to talk with those guys in different industries, and that's probably been my go-to every day. But honestly, such an amazing network of people out there, and it's usually, to be honest, industry networks that have been keeping me going. Like having great chats with the tourism industry, especially through Hamish at Hawke's Bay Tourism and the chats that he organises, and little chats from Bex through the wedding side of things in Hawke's Bay, great little group there, and other bus operators around New Zealand. Everyone wants to just catch up for a chat, and I think that really gets everybody through, because you understand we're all going through it in different ways, and there's certain people that you can relate to on each issue you're dealing with, and I think that's been just invaluable.
So what's sort of been one of your biggest learnings during this period?
Going digital as soon as you can, honestly, and we're lucky that we have. I'm a big advocate for no paper. The paper police at work. So, if you have to print something off, why do you have to print it off? Can you keep a digital file? So fortunately, a few months ago, we actually took everything digital. We scanned everything into the cloud. Obviously, all our servers went to the cloud. And we have actually the IT project that we're working on is taking our operating system into the cloud as well, which has been a big job. But I guess this whole thing has just taught us a massive lesson that, the more digital you are, the better, because if you can access anything from anywhere, then working from home really is just physical. It doesn't stop you from doing your job. So, for sure.
And is there anything that you'll do, that you have been doing during lockdown as a business and a business practice or process and stuff that you'll carry on with on the other side?
Yeah, well, actually, team meetings via Teams is going to keep going, because we've got 3 depots, one in Whakatū, one in Napier, and one in Taupo. So we find it hard to keep those guys all feeling like they're part of the same team, and we've never felt more like a team than we do now, funnily enough. So that's really going to be continuing, and within different teams below that, I guess, as well, whether it's operations or reservations or whatever it might be. So that's for sure going to keep going, and also our digital processes. I don't want to see everyone go back to the office and start printing stuff off again.
And obviously tourism's taking a big hit. We're unsure when the overseas travel will come back, so there's like domestic market and domestic campaigns and all of that sort of stuff. How do you see that impacting your business?
Well, to be honest, I mean, really, I can't see it happening too soon. And even when it does, it'll be incremental. But I mean, our business is going to shrink regardless. I mean, it's just the way it's going to be, because, people just aren't going to do things the way they were doing. But school stuff doesn't change, and that's great. That's the core of our business, so that's really good. But we don't know what's going to happen with cruise ship, and we don't know what's going to happen with group travel. And I think that's really the point, because we don't know. No one can bank on it, so you've got to adjust accordingly, and then take that as an opportunity to scale your business to suit. Because if we all assume that tourism is a sure thing, then we're going to get let down eventually. Because tourism's never a sure thing, it's completely dependent on all sorts of things around the world, and that could happen anytime, and it doesn't have to be a pandemic. So I think that you've got to be really geared up to deal with their day-to-day, and when that work comes in, share it around the community like we do on really busy days. So I mean, I hope that it all comes back. It would be nice for it to come back gradually, because a lot of businesses are going to have to downsize, and it'll be a big scramble if all of a sudden, you've got 60 ships coming in the next few months. So I mean, I know it'll come back gently, but it's a really good time to take stock and see what you do well.
Now, your business is heavily reliant on fuel, and look what happens. The price of fuel drops dramatically. I think diesel, someone said, was even like 90 cents somewhere yesterday. Are you able to land back?
Do you know what? I would love that. It's funny you say that, actually. We filled up a tank yesterday and it was $80. Honestly, it just hurts, because we can't, I mean, we're not going anywhere. So, we can't... I mean, all of our buses are full. Funnily enough, we filled every single bus up before lockdown, because you can get fuel bugs if you have a semi-empty tank. So it's a big thing to do. But, nothing's been moving. The wheels haven't been turning. So, at a time where it's great to capitalize on cheap fuel, we can't. But we actually own the land that our fuel stop is on. But we don't own the fuel. So unfortunately, even though it's in our ground, that doesn't do anything to help the price stay the same. So fingers crossed that when things start moving again, the price stays low for a while, and it'll actually help business kind of ease into it, because they've done a good amount with road user refunds and off-road costs and things like that. So, I hope that fuel kind of eases us back into things as well.
Yep. Now we're also looking at, the Hawke's Bay economy's taken a significant hit, but hopefully not as much as some of the other regions. And so how do you sort of look to see how the economy here will recover?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to, I think, the kinds of businesses that we have in Hawke's Bay, and what we do and what makes us money in those industries, because no two regions are the same, and it totally depends on the industries. We fortunately in Hawke's Bay have a huge number of primary industry businesses which are essential, literally, in keeping us all going throughout lockdown anyway. So that's one really good blessing for Hawke's Bay, that primary industry is going to keep us going. But we're also very, very dependent on events and tourism. So, that's what's going to be probably our longest hit, which is, like the Sotheby's Marathon, all sorts of concerts that happen next summer and throughout the year. All of this stuff kind of keeps us busy, and sport as well. That's what keeps us going in winter. And so, until that stuff kind of comes back and it's full joy, I guess, and everything that it brings, it's going to be a slow burn, and so is tourism. So I guess that's sort of the problem with Napier is
it's an interesting point, isn't it? Because we are tourism and events and all this. That's gives us our vibrancy and gives us that lifestyle region and things, and that's the thing that we're not necessarily going to be able to do to the same level.
Yeah, and I think that something to consider as well is we all love our hospitality, and I love going out to. Actually, that's another thing I crave, movie popcorn. I knew I had another thing. I love going to the movies, and, we all love going out and doing things and having a drink, and we've got great wineries and great bars and great restaurants, but they're propped up by the tourism industry as well. We wouldn't have the great restaurants we have without having a tourism industry, because that's what keeps those businesses open every night, and I think that's something that we've all got to remember, is to, be really considerate about, I guess, the gradual change that might happen if tourism doesn't come back the way it was. Because I guess hospitality depends on it, and so many homes depend on it without even realizing, so there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's been fantastic catching up with you. We wish you all the best. I'm sure the business will go great guns, and there'll be buses all around Hastings, Hawke's Bay, and beyond. So really looking forward to seeing those Nimon buses out there again.
Yeah, thanks, Damon. Me too. Another financial crisis. We can do it.
Thank you. Cool. Cheers.
See ya.